Six Flags New England is the region's largest amusement park. Located in Agawam, Massachusetts, just a few minutes from Springfield, Six Flags New England traces its roots back to 1870. But the park started transforming to the thrill destination we know today in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Coaster enthusiasts seem to agree that this park is one of the best 1-2 punches in the world, with Superman the Ride and Wicked Cyclone. But the park has so much more to offer. Six Flags New England has a total of 12 different roller coasters, dozens of other rides, a massive attached water park, and a little more charm than some of the newer Six Flags parks. Find out why I consider myself thankful to have this as my home Six Flags park in this review. This park originally opened in 1870 as a picnic grove known as Gallop's Grove. In the late 1800s, the property would be renamed Riverside, which was a very fitting name considering the back edge of the park bordered the Connecticut River. The park started adding mechanical rides in the early 1900s, but Riverside closed from 1933 to 1939 as a result of the Wall Street crash a few years prior. In late 1939, Edward Carroll purchased the park, and he was the key figure that transformed Riverside into the largest amusement park in New England. For nearly 6 decades, the Carroll family owned Riverside. The park methodically expanded, adding several rides, including 7 new roller coasters, including Thunderbolt, which still operates to this day, and the Riverside Cyclone, which has since been converted into Wicked Cyclone, but at one time, this was one of the wildest and most highly regarded wood coasters after initially opened due to its intensity. Another unique addition Carroll added to the park was the Riverside Park Speedway, a quarter-mile oval racetrack that would hold countless stock car races over the years, including multiple NASCAR races. Then in the winter of 1996, Premier Parks purchased Riverside from Carroll, and the park expansion was kicked into overdrive. For the 1997 season alone, Riverside added a new water park and Mind Eraser, a Vekoma SLC that is now known as Riddler Revenge. The following year, Premier Parks purchased Six Flags, and Riverside continued to expand, but the biggest evolution occurred in 2000 when the park was officially renamed Six Flags New England. To celebrate the flagging, the park did demolish the Riverside Speedway, but they built what is still considered the park's signature attraction of this day in Superman, a giant intimate hypercoaster that for many years was considered the best roller coaster in the entire world. Six Flags New England has continued to expand over the past decade, but many of the rides from when Carroll owned the park have since been retired or removed. There are 2 reasons for this. First, a lot of the rides from the Riverside days were aging. Second, and more importantly, Six Flags New England is 100% developed. Unless this park gets super creative and has something go over the pathways, they will always have to remove something in order to add something new. I think that has been the case for every new addition over the past decade. It is always a buzzkill to see a popular ride get retired, but it is usually the right move for the park, and I'm thankful this park continues to see solid investments rather than remaining stagnant. As the park expanded, one of the biggest issues was accessibility. Unlike most major parks that are located directly off the highway or in a commercial district, Six Flags New England is on a 1-lane road that is essentially a residential road. As a result, it can be a nightmare getting in and out of this park on busy days. I always try to get to the park at least a half hour before opening if I'm coming on a busy weekend to avoid the backup on Route 159. If you're coming from Springfield, a major tip I have when you get off the highway is to take River Road for most of the way as opposed to Route 159 because it's less likely to back up. However, it can be a lot trickier to avoid a traffic jam exiting the park. There have been days it has taken me over an hour to get out of the main parking lot. There is only one way out of the parking lot, and it becomes a major choke point as everyone rushes out at the same time. And there is no traffic light onto the main road, so traffic cops have to continuously direct traffic, which slows things down mightily. If you're unfamiliar with how Six Flags New England is set up, the main parking area is located across the street, over a bridge, and down a really long pathway. And this is easily one of the longest walks from your car to the main entrance of any amusement park. If you get a spot towards the front of the first parking lot, it is still a good 10-minute walk minimum. However, and this may sound counterintuitive, I would avoid parking in the first row of spots. While you are parked closest to the trams and walkway to the park, it is an absolute nightmare getting out of these spots because the exiting cars will be routed down your row and no one will let you out. Park 2 to 3 rows back to avoid this. If you are towards the back of the first lot or sent to the second lot, which is even further back, it can take 20 to 30 minutes to walk to the main entrance. And that walk seems extra long at night after a long day at the park. The park does have trams, as I mentioned earlier, but they're often way too short and not as plentiful as you may like, so I usually find it's faster to walk unless I'm in the very back of the second lot. In the Riverside days, the parking lot was closer to the main entrance, but was moved across the street after the park was converted into Six Flags New England. The amount of time it takes to get from the main lot to front gate is definitely frustrating, but it was the park's only option to keep up with increasing demand. However, there is a way to still park on the same side of the street: preferred parking. If your membership includes this perk, I 100% recommend it for this park. I found the preferred lot doesn't save too much time at the other Six Flags parks if you arrive right at open, but it saves a ton of time at Six Flags New England in any circumstance. From the preferred lot, it's only a 2 to 4 minute walk to the main entrance. Not only that, this lot never backs up at the end of the night, so it is a much less stressful time when you go to leave the park. If you don't have a season pass or membership, it costs roughly $25 to park at Six Flags New England. I spent way too much time talking about parking, but I've gotten stuck in that parking lot countless times, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. If you have any intention to visit Six Flags New England multiple times, or visit any other Six Flags parks in the same year, I would strongly recommend a season pass or membership over a daily ticket. It's not that much more, and it often includes parking. The cheapest rates are often found during their flash sale, which usually occurs around Labor Day. Moving on to the park itself, Six Flags New England is one of the nicer looking parks in the chain, and I love how the park's main entrance is set up. The entrance itself is a classic colonial style building, and you're immediately greeted by the park's classic carousel once you're inside. As you make your way down Main Street, you have old brick buildings to your side, and the park's impressive skyline straight ahead of you. Plus, you have the Connecticut River running alongside the back edge of the park. You don't really see the river while you're walking around the park because it is blocked by the trees and rides, but you get some stunning views when you're on any of the taller rides. The other areas feel similar to what you find at other Six Flags parks, but the areas are done well. Crack Axle Canyon may be one of the weaker areas of the park in terms of rides, but this western area's architecture is on point. Rockville has that retro 50s vibe, and it looks especially nice at night with the lights turned on. The DC Super Friends and Gotham City areas were both recently renovated, so all the rides in these sections sport fresh coats of paint. And both Looney Tunes Movie Town and Kidsopolis are bright and colorful. The only section of the park I am really not a fan of is Whistle Stop Park. Awkwardly located in the dead end to the right of the main entrance, this area just has no activity going on. It's home to a rarely open train ride and the park's membership building. Since this area borders the Hurricane Harbor Water Park, I have a hunch this area will be removed in the coming years. And because of where this area is, I would not be surprised if the park moves Hurricane Harbor's entrance over here and makes it a separate gate. Currently, Hurricane Harbor's entrance is over by Batman at the far end of the park, and the park is included with admission. However, this is a sizable water park with almost 24 attractions, and it has an argument that it's the best water park in all of New England. Six Flags Great America recently split the water park from the ride park, and other Six Flags parks have done the same over the years. I typically don't visit the water park due to crowds and the need to bring a change of clothes, especially because the major rides on the dry side will require a locker for bags. But Hurricane Harbor has a solid slide lineup. There are two standout water slides in my opinion. First is Typhoon, the park's pro slide water coaster. Unfortunately, this slide is often closed, and when it does open, it usually sports an hour-long wait. But when it is open, it has a lot of sizable drops for a water slide, even if it may not offer the airtime you get in Pro Slide's newer water coasters. Second is the Swiss Family Toboggan Family Raft Ride. Like Typhoon, this is another one that is usually closed, this one due to staffing. But when it is open, this is a surprisingly wild water slide that has you sliding high up the trough. I swear the raft is going to flip over at multiple points every time I ride this. One other ride I want to highlight, for the wrong reasons, is bonsai pipelines. Unlike most slides from Pro Slide or Whitewater West, this creation is from Splashtacular. While this trapdoor slide looks cool and has some impressive speed, this slide is really rough on your back. If you want fast body slides that won't hurt you, Cannonball Falls is a much more comfortable experience. The rest of the water park consists of a series of tube slides, water play areas, pools, and lazy rivers. You could easily spend an entire day here if you're a water park fan. But back to the dry side. Six Flags New England usually has manageable crowds on weekdays, but this park can get slammed on summer and Fright Fest weekends. If the park is packed when you visit, you do have an option to purchase a Flash Pass skip the line system that works pretty well for almost every ride in the park. If you are visiting without a Flash Pass, your two worst lines by far will be for Harley Quinn Spinsanity and Pandemonium. The other coasters and Blizzard River on a hot day can build up larger queues too if they're a busier day, but they will almost always be less than Pandemonium and Harley Quinn. My recommendation would be to rope drop Harley Quinn Spinsanity if that is a must for you, because that ride is a miserable throughput due to its long cycle. Meanwhile, Pandemonium is one of a few rides in the park with a single rider line that can save you a ton of time. This single rider line is now unmarked as the original markings have faded, and you access it by walking up the Flash Pass line. Just let the attendant know you're a single rider, and you usually get on in less than 5 minutes. The other single rider lines I love are the ones for Batman and Scream, because those ones also get you on almost immediately. Goliath, Superman, and Joker also have single rider lines, but they're not always open and less useful because they occur so deep into the queue line. If there is a ride that has a shockingly high wait, you can enter that queue line right at the end of the night, because Six Flags keeps all their queue lines open right up until park closing. But if you're visiting on a day when the park is open after nightfall, I would strongly recommend finishing with Superman. That is easily the park's best night ride as you whiz past the river in the first half and then dash over and under the illuminated pathways in the second half. If you want to avoid lines entirely, you can visit on a rainy day, but this is a major gamble. Outside of Goliath, almost every single major ride will remain open in rain as long as there's no thunder and lightning in the area, so you can rack up a ton of rides. However, the park does tend to close early in these days with minimal warning too, so you have to keep that in mind. Ride operations at Six Flags New England are mixed. Superman's crew is usually the best in the park. That ride almost always runs 2 trains, except in exceedingly rare cases due to weather, and when that has happened in the past on a busy day, they've actually used boarding passes to address the increased wait times. Wicked Cyclone had fast dispatches in my most recent visit, but that is one ride where dispatches can be glacially slow due to the load procedures on that ride, and also that ride does tend to run 1 train sometimes. Over the past decade, I've noticed an improvement in customer service and overall staff friendliness. While the park still can't match a place like Canopy or Lake Compounce in this department, it is adequate now. One of the biggest improvements has been the allowance of re-rides. Until the past few years, Six Flags New England had a strict no re-ride policy, even if you were the only ones on the station. They have since relaxed this rule and allow you to fill any open row if you want to ride again. Moving on to the ride lineup, the park currently has a dozen roller coasters. The lineup is dominated by the top 2, but the other coasters do cover a large range of genres, even if they may be just average to decent at best. The headliner is undoubtedly Superman the Ride. This coaster still has one of the best layouts in the world. The first half has a really forceful first drop, and camelbacks with several seconds of powerful ejector airtime. The third and fourth hills in particular are 2 of the best hills on any coaster. Then the second half is a twister combining shorter, more aggressive pops of airtime with strong positive Gs. While most enthusiasts aren't the biggest fans of the bulky lap bars that were retrofit onto the attraction, I don't mind these restraints. This is still a borderline top 10 steel coaster for me because of the coaster's diverse layout, and I have a separate review going into more detail. Wicked Cyclone may be the favorite roller coaster amongst enthusiasts now. This Rocky Mountain construction conversion of the old Riverside Cyclone is now a glass-smooth blitz of ejector airtime and hang time filled inversions. While the ride may not be an upper-tier RMC, and the ride does tend to lose some steam towards the very end, the ride's abundance of airtime and frenetic pacing make it a standout attraction. And I also have a separate review going into more detail on this ride. If you crave inversions, you're best off heading to the Gotham City section of the park, as you have a trio of coasters that will send you head over heels. Batman the Dark Knight is the park's ultra-compact floorless coaster from Bolger and Abbeyard. This ride is among the weaker floorless coasters though, but it's still a pretty smooth ride and it features an incredible zero-G roll. I think it's the best single inversion in the park. Riddler Revenge originally opened as Mind Eraser, and I avoided this coaster like the plague for many years. The original restraints were bulky and headbanging was inevitable, but a few years ago the coaster received brand new vest restraints and that eliminated all headbanging. Riddler Revenge still isn't smooth, the ride will jerk you about, but I am now able to appreciate the intense and disorienting layout because my head isn't getting clobbered. Last but not least, on the south end, you have Joker, the park's S&S free spin. This one has more of a personality than the others. The green side tends to offer more flips, while the purple side tends to offer less flips but better time flips on the Raven turns. I also find you can maximize your flips if you throw your body into them. Despite the wild flips, this is a surprisingly comfortable experience that always has me laughing. For families, the best three coasters are Thunderbolt, Pandemonium, and Gotham City Gauntlet. Thunderbolt is the park's classic 1941 wood coaster. The ride has several smaller pops of airtime peppered throughout the layout, and then a very surprising bunny hill at the end with some powerful ejector airtime. That moment is the main reason I ride Thunderbolt. Pandemonium is a cloned Gerstlauer spinning coaster, but it feels like it was designed exclusively for Six Flags New England because of how well integrated into the park it is. The initial helixes have some mild Gs and good spinning, while the finale includes a nice drop into a trench. Gotham City Gauntlet Escape from Arkham Asylum is a mouthful, but it's an okay wild mouse coaster. The brakes in this one can be a bit harsh, but the first few hairpin turns still offer some nice laterals, and the drops towards the end are rather zippy. Both this ride and Pandemonium have rather low height limits, which makes it a great transitional coaster from the kiddie ones. Catwoman Whip and Great Chase are two of the smallest coasters. Catwoman Whip has two solid drops if you're towards the back because of the ridiculously long train, while Great Chase is your more traditional kiddie coaster. At this point, I want to touch on something that I call Six Flags New England syndrome. This is when a park has two seemingly redundant rides. Look no further than the park's two Vekoma boomerangs that are awkwardly placed right next to each other. Flashback is the original boomerang. This ride is really intense, but the transitions on the Cobra Roll can bash your head. Then in 2012, the park added Goliath, a giant inverted boomerang. This ride was great in its opening year with the original trains, but Six Flags New England had Premier Rides create new trains for the 2013 season. These trains were intended to improve the ride's uptime and expedite loading, as the original staggered seating caused confusion amongst guests. However, the new trains absolutely ruined the ride. What was once a reasonably smooth coaster became a jackhammering endurance test. That being said, I think Goliath's days are numbered. The ride rarely operates due to its inability to operate in the rain or sub-60-degree temperatures, two things that occur quite often in New England. Plus, it is a maintenance nightmare. The park confirmed the coaster will be closed for at least 2021, and since the ride sign has been removed, I suspect this ride will never operate again at Six Flags New England. Another set of rides this park has duplicates of is Frisbees. They have two. Tomahawk is a smaller Hoos Frisbee that focuses on spinning, while Harley Quinn Spinsanity is a Zamperla Giant Discovery that focuses on floater airtime. I actually think the two rides complement each other well, that they can coexist harmoniously. Harley Quinn is probably the best flat ride in the park, but the New England Sky Screamer isn't far behind. This was once the world's tallest swing ride, and offers a breathtaking view of both the park and surrounding area. Plus, it's really freaky being suspended 400 feet or 122 meters in the air by small chains. And as an added bonus, the park runs the ride backwards during Fright Fest, which is always a neat experience. Scream is another ride that combines breathtaking visuals and thrills. What's unique about this trio of S&S towers is that they are able to run 3 different programs. Space Shot launches you up, giving you some gentle floater airtime at the top. Turbo Drop blasts you down, giving a quick pop of airtime and a brief stomach dropping sensation. And Combo Mode features both Space Shot and Turbo Drop in one ride. 2 of the towers are capable of running all 3 programs, but the tower immediately in front of the main entrance can only run the Turbo Drop program. This is because this was the original tower added during the Riverside days when the ride originally opened as Elevator. 2 additional towers were added for the 2000 season, and those ones were upgraded to run all the programs, and this was when the ride was renamed Scream. I missed the park's old Time Warp and Catapult flat rides. They were 2 of my favorite inverting flats that offered oodles of hang time. Now the 2 flats that'll flip you are Fireball, which is a Larson Super Loop, and Supergirl, the park's new for 2021 Zamperla Endeavor. The latter is the spiritual successor to a Hoos Enterprise. It's a decently forceful ride, and I love its placement in the middle of Superman's Spaghetti Bowl. And it sits on the site of the old Nighthawk flying ride, which is another variant on the old Enterprise ride. Six Flags New England may not have any traditional dark rides, but they do have 2 indoor flat rides. Houdini is a Vekoma madhouse that is still probably the park's best themed attraction. While the ride doesn't actually invert you, it sure feels like it because of the way the seats swing and how the room rotates. The other flat ride that was indoors was the park's new for 2019 attraction in Cyborg. This is a Chance Freestyle, which is a next generation version of the company's popular Wipeout rides. This ride is a short cycle and an erratic program. It offers 1 or 2 small pops of airtime at its highest point, but then quickly lowers and oddly reaches its max speed at the very end of the ride on the final spin. I do wish the audio was louder because it's near impossible to hear what's happening over the ride itself, but I do appreciate how the park tried to go the extra mile with this ride, especially because the park worked to install this ride indoors in the same site of the old Joker's Wildcard Wipeout that was forced to move outdoors due to issues with the fire code. The rest of the flat rides consist of a series of spinning rides. The best of the bunch is the teacups because of how easy they are to spin. And I also love how this ride gives a Halloween overlay to Terror Twist with lights and music, which makes the ride extra disorienting. For kids, the best 2 areas are the Looney Tunes Movie Town and Kidsopolis. Looney Tunes Movie Town tends to have rides that can only accommodate kids, while the rides in Kidsopolis are more easily able to accommodate both adults and children. Last but not least, you have a single water ride in Blizzard River. This Hopkins River Rapids ride can get you drenched if the waterfalls are active, but typically you just have a series of mild rapids and a cool, mist-filled tunnel at the end. Fright Fest is the park's popular Halloween event. My favorite part about this event are the late closing times that allow me to rack up night rides. The haunts themselves are a little bit of an upcharge, and they aren't particularly good. The indoor ones are just flat out awful. They feel cheap, and I especially dislike how Midnight Mansion is located in Houdini's queue line, which closes that ride for the event. The outdoor ones are decent though, and I find it sort of creepy that you just are wandering throughout the woods. I wish these ones just had more scare actors to make them elite. Holiday in the Park is the park's recently added winter event. The park looks the prettiest this time of year with all the multicolored lights, but the ride lineup is definitely the weakest. The North End and DC Super Friends areas are closed for this event, which means that both Superman and Wicked Cyclone are closed. But it's still surreal being able to ride a handful of roller coasters in freezing conditions, and I love how Six Flags is able to extend their season. Just keep in mind a lot of the rides start to have mechanical issues when temperatures drop below 32 degrees. Six Flags Great Adventure, which is nearby, is a lot more aggressive in cold temperatures than Six Flags New England, at least at Holiday in the Park. Since this is one of my home parks, I've had the opportunity to try almost every restaurant in the park. Food at any Six Flags park is pricey, but if you plan to visit multiple times, a meal plan is a wise investment because it'll save you a ton of cash. That is what I have. Most of the food at this park is on par with the other Six Flags parks. The chicken tenders from any stand in Macho Nacho are decent, but there are 2 places or items I want to highlight. First is JB's Smokehouse. Multiple Six Flags parks have this barbecue restaurant, but the one at Six Flags New England is way better than the others. This one has some genuinely good brisket. Second is the pizza fried dough from any stand. If you have a meal plan, this is the largest snack item you can purchase, and it's extremely filling. It's my favorite snack at the park. But my biggest food tip is to visit Nikki's Pizza down the road. That's especially the case if you don't have a meal plan, but even if you do, it's worth stopping here. Nikki's Pizza is cash only, but they're shockingly cheap for the amount of food they give. Pizza slices are $3 and they fill an entire pizza box. And the largest pizza here is 2 human beings wide. And the pizza is absolutely delicious too. So do I recommend Six Flags New England? Absolutely. You have 2 elite coasters in Superman and Wicked Cyclone, plus a deep supporting cast of other roller coasters and flat rides. I think this is the best overall amusement park in New England. It has something for everyone. This is easily the best park in New England for thrills, and it does a solid job in the kiddie and family ride department. Although I would say that the parks in New Hampshire are superior to Six Flags in this particular area. I think Six Flags New England is a mid-tier Six Flags park. I think it does aesthetics better than most, features two of the best coasters in the world, and has some interesting non-coasters. Some of the other Six Flags parks do have a stronger and deeper overall coaster lineup and superior operations, but I do enjoy having this park as a home park, and it is a park that most enthusiasts need to visit at some point for the top two. And since you are roughly an hour from Lake Compounce and Boulder Dash, it makes a lot of sense to hit both on the same trip. So those are my thoughts on Six Flags New England, the top amusement park in New England. What are your thoughts on this park? Have you been there? I would love to hear your thoughts about this park down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review and overview, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.